Uh,
So this video has been a very long time coming, as let's be honest, I should have made this video months ago, as what I'm about to say isn't exactly a hot take. Konami. It's time. We've had to suffer long enough. About 42 months of suffering to be exact. It's time for Treacherous to join its buddy Hatronade on the forbidden list. Now, unlike the 600 comments I get every video screaming for different cards to be banned for God knows what reason, I'm actually going to explain my reasoning for why it's definitely time for the card to go. But before I get into that, just a reminder that if you're enjoying any of the content you're watching or find any of it useful, to please leave a like on the video down below and consider subscribing to the channel whilst you're down there. I make videos and stream all the time, so if you don't want to miss out any of the spicy stuff I upload, such as my top 10 competitive series, weekly deck showcases, box reviews, guides, waifu tier lists... Okay, maybe not that last one, but you get the picture. Make sure you're subscribed with notifications on. Alright, so let's talk about the reasons why cards are banned first, and then list them out as categories. That way I can show you guys just how many categories Treacherous actually takes up. Now, for a card to be banned in Duel Links is actually a very rare thing, as understandably, Konami don't want to remove your ability to play a card completely, as what is the point of creating a card and putting it in your game if you can't even play the card? So because of this, there are only 4 cards currently banned: Hatronade, Grass Looks Greener, Cocytus, and Cyberstein. So why were these cards forbidden? Well, let's go through them with Konami's own words. Hatronade. This card will be forbidden as it leads to too many cards being made limited to prevent its use in decks which can easily win after using it. So this card was banned for 2 reasons, which will be our first 2 categories. 1. It was simply too strong a card, so strong in fact that it alone was causing you to win games most of the time after it resolved. And 2. Keeping it limited causes other cards to be limited. Since it was once limited to 2, it meant that just about any top tier deck released also had to receive a limit 2 somewhere in it, just to contest the limited 2 pull to keep this card away. Next up we have Cock. This card will be forbidden as many decks have extreme difficulty dealing with it, leading to less diversity in the metagame. So this was banned for a different reason, and actually gives us 2 more categories. The card was simply too difficult for most decks to deal with, leading to less diversity in the game, as only decks that could out it could be played. So it was too difficult to deal with, and it causes less diversity in the meta. Last but not least, we have Grass and Stein, which were actually forbidden at the same time. Grass was banned for, as it was capable of giving the user an advantage to the extent victory is almost certain. This is definitely a ban that would fall under the too strong category, as just like Trinade, it was basically winning games by itself after it resolved. Cyberstein was banned for, its effect on turn 1 can severely limit the other player's ability to fight back. So this card basically falls into its own category, as its ban was purely because it caused FTK-like gameplay, not actually a first turn kill, but as a lot of you know, it would cause a lock with Ojama King, which would lock all 3 monster zones, making it impossible for your opponent to summon a monster at all, literally making it impossible for some decks to fight back. Therefore, you would basically win the duel on the first turn of the game before your opponent even got a chance to play, which is obviously something that should never happen. So there are probably other reasons why cards should be banned, but these are the ones Konami has actively banned cards for already. So how many does Treacherous fit into? Let's start with 1. Is this card too strong to the point where it alone will win you games? A lot. Basically, a majority of the time if you activate this card, will you just win the duel straight after? Now, very important to specify, this has to happen alone, happen a lot, and nearly guarantee you a win after it's resolved. Because obviously there are a lot of cards in the game that will just help you win a match, such as a boss monster like Cyber Slash, only in that case that card takes multiple cards to summon, or a back row card like Drowning Mirror Force can win you games as well, but that activation requirement makes it so that it's less likely to be activated before it's removed, hence it won't happen nearly as much as a Treacherous. Or even just a well-timed Book of Moon or a Karma Cut disrupting a combo might just win you a game. But normally, removing only one monster or one lot of disruption doesn't just end a game. You can try to play through it, it will just make the game a lot harder. So does this card win games often, alone, and nearly every time it's activated. Yes. Yes, it damn well does. Now originally I was going to grab some gameplay examples for this, but let's be honest here, you really don't need them from me. You've already experienced this yourself. You summon any 2 monsters to Xyz, any 2 monsters to Synchro, or on a deck like Melodious or Gaia, any 2 monsters to Fusion Summon, and boom, your opponent activates a Treacherous, and you just lost your normal summon, you lost 2 cards, which in a 5 card starting hand is a lot. All for the cost of one single set trap card that can be activated whenever. And this definitely isn't a rare occurrence. If your opponent has a set Treacherous and they get to activate it, you'll probably just lose the duel 70% of the time, and that's me being generous. Alright, does it fit into category number 2? Does keeping it limited cause other cards to be limited? Again, definitely yes. A prime example of this would be Harpies, which last ban list received a limit to Elegant Egotist. Now why on earth did they limit only one Harpy card and nothing else in the art type, as that wouldn't have anything to contest with, especially considering most Harpy lists only ran 2 Egotist anyway. It was of course to contest with the 2 copies of Treacherous most Harpy players are running. The limit was made to remove Tretch specifically, and I thought it was pretty funny to note here that most Harpy players just decided, yeah, we'll just use one Egotist because Tretch is so fucking good, they're still running it. So yes, this card causes decks to receive hits, and Harpies were not the only victim, they are just the most recent. Anytime you see a deck receive a limit to 2 without any other in-art type cards getting hit, it's because of Treacherous. Number 3 and 4. Is this card too hard for most decks to deal with, and does it lead to a less diverse metagame? Well, I would honestly argue, yes. Sure, you can run a Cosmic Cyclone in your deck to be able to deal with it, but that argument is the exact same for you being able to run a Herald of the Abyss out of Cocytus. I hate that just about every deck I build now has to include 3 times MST or 3 Cosmic, purely for this card. A deck like DDD generally shouldn't have to run that much macro removal, as they like to flood the board, so one lot of macro like a Book of Moon or a Karma Cut shouldn't mean too much, as you can still somewhat play through them. But with Tretch removing 2 monsters, even in flood decks, it feels like you just lose on the spot. So if you see me running an MST or a Cosmic, most of the time it's purely for Treacherous, not any other back row. Sure, it's useful to have an MST against other back row, but in a Treacherous meta, it just feels like a fucking necessity. This also leads to a less diverse metagame, as first of all, decks that can't spam special summons or don't have the luxury of inbuilt back row removal like Harpy have with Hunted Ground, simply just struggle to be played. And secondly, you only ever see the same 2-card back row combo in every single deck, Treacherous plus Book of Moon. That is the metagame. There is never any thought process into what cool tech cards you should bring, as Treacherous is just undoubtedly the best card by a large margin. I get that there will always be a best back row card, but it has to be a problem that literally every single deck released will try its absolute hardest to run this combo. Even if it can't fit the Book of Moon, they will still stuff in the Treacherous, because not running a card that just grants you a free win on activation is just dumb. That leaves only number 5 remaining, which thank God is a category this card doesn't fit into, as it does not first turn kill or lock someone. It is a pretty annoying card to play into, but at the very least, you're not locked out of interacting before your turn even began. So there you have it. In my opinion, Treacherous Trap Hole fits into 4 of the 5 categories KONAMI currently uses for placing cards on the Forbidden List. So KONAMI, for the love of God, follow your own philosophies and ban this fucking card. It's definitely had a good, long run. It's time to go. Alright guys, that'll do it for my little rant video. Let me know down below what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know down below. If you enjoyed the video or find any of the content useful or informative, please drop me a like and consider subscribing to the channel whilst you're down there. Thank you guys for watching. Laters.
Hey, big brother, can I watch SpongeBob?
Shut up, Mokuba. I'm busy flagging YouTube videos to compensate for the fact that I have an extremely small penis.
Oh.